In the dust of forgotten highways, in the shadows of roadside diners, we're spinning yarn from strange America, where every tale's got a twist, and not all ghosts wear chains. Alright, partner. Georgia's got red clay, ghosts in the cotton fields, and a heartbeat that slows just enough at dusk to let the shadows catch up. Let me take you to a place where even the peach trees lean in just to listen. The Smokehouse at Dead Mule Crossing. Down in Wilcox County, where the roads are soft and the stories are softer, there's half a sunken farmhouse at the edge of a long-forgotten railroad spur. Locals call the bend Dead Mule Crossing, and you can thank a runaway freight cart and a particularly unlucky pack mule for that. But the name stuck, so did something else. The farmhouse's old smokehouse still stands, stone walls, rusted roof, and an iron hook hanging from the rafter like it never stopped working. Thing is, nobody can explain why the smokehouse still smokes. No fire inside, no coals, but late at night, that chimney breathes out thin gray wisp. Smells like peach wood and grief. Back in the 1950s, a field hand named Luther Cade spent a night there on a dare. He said he woke up to the sound of meat slicing, thin, wet, and steady. The door was still barred from the inside, but when he looked back at his pack, it had been opened, not torn, unwrapped. He left that night and joined the Navy, said the ocean was quieter than that shack. Since then, hunters and thrill seekers pass through. Most find nothing but damp stone and bad dreams. But every now and again, a man don't come back down from those woods, and somewhere, on a humid breeze, comes the smell of cooking, sweet and awful. Locals say that the meal wasn't the first thing sacrificed at that crossing. And the hook, it never stays still when the moon is full. Georgia's a place where stories grow as fast as the vines, and some roots run deep into things best left unspoken. Stay on the paved roads, keep your windows cracked, and if the air smells too good to be true, it probably is. We're gonna move on down a little bit to the foothills of Appalachia, Alabama. Well now, Alabama's got heat that'll curl your boots and a history that don't always stay buried. So let me take you to a bend in the road where even the cicadas hush up after dark. The Man in the Kudzu. Down in Pickens County, just a whistle past Carrollton, there's an old plantation house tucked beneath a curtain of kudzu. Folks call it Briar Holler, but that ain't its real name. Nobody says a real name out loud anymore. Legend goes back in the 1920s, a man named Josiah Griggs bought the land dirt cheap. Folks said the price was cursed, but Josiah, he was too proud and too broke to care. Spent his days chopping back vines that kept growing faster than sweat could dry on his brow. Thing is, every morning the kudzu would grow back thicker, like it remembered. Then came the summer storms. Neighbors stopped hearing Josiah's axe. Smoke stopped rising from the chimney When someone finally checked in, they found the front door open, supper still warm on the stove, and the house empty. The vines had crawled inside, wrapped around the bedpost, the stairs, and even the mirror. In the mirror, they saw him. Just for a second, tall man, skin the color of scorched bark, eyes like burning resin. The man in the kudzu. Ever since, every decade or so, someone goes looking for that house. And once they find it, they don't tend to come back. But the vines, they always get thicker, greener. One hiker left a voicemail before vanishing. Said he heard a voice from the brush whispering, "A debt was taken, a name forgotten. I am what grows in silence." Now I ain't saying the land remembers everything, just that some things took root deeper than memory. So if you're ever driving through Pickens County and see vines where there shouldn't be, covering a mailbox, maybe wrapping a street sign, don't stop, because the man in the kudzu might be watching from the green, waiting to be remembered. Alright now, we're gonna move on up a little bit, deep within the folds of Tennessee, just where the Smokies start to breathe a little heavier, out near Townsend, where the rivers run quiet and the critters watch like they've seen everything twice. There's a story most folks don't tell loud, but it lingers, like wood smoke on an old flannel. The Watcher at Trembling Rock. There's a ridge just west of Cade's Cove, one the maps mark as benign. Locals call it Trembling Rock, on account of the boulder perched up there like it's waiting to fall, except it never does. Back in 1939, a pair of WPA surveyors were setting trail markers through that holler. Went up to the ridge with pack mules, compasses, and the usual government stubbornness. They made camp just below the rock. Only one came down. That man, Josiah Webb, staggered into Townsend 3 days later, bruised and bloodied, muttering about a man with no eyes and too many knees. He spent the rest of his days in Maryville, drawing the same twisted figure on napkins and church bulletins. Never spoke of the ridge again. They say now on nights when the ridge is fogged and the wind dies just so, you can hear 3 knocks from the woods, measured, low, like a hand tapping on hollow bark. And if you follow 'em, well, don't, friend. One hiker left a note in the trail register in 2006. Said she heard the knocking. Said it wasn't a woodpecker. Her last line read, "It knows your weight by how the ground bends." All they found was her pack and tent at the base of the rock, and no one inside it. I ain't saying the Smokies are cursed. No, sir. Just saying they got stories carved deeper than the rivers. And some rocks up there tremble for a reason. That's the end of the road for now, friends. If the wind carries voices that ain't got mouths, and the river runs backwards just before dawn, don't ask why. Just know you've crossed over. We'll find you next time in the strange.